Hi everyone. I wanted to reach out to you because I know that even though our class is an online class, probably a lot of you are feeling more disconnected in this time than usual. So I thought I would make you a little video and actually talk about culture shock and using our contemporary circumstances as another way of understanding culture shock. So I am sitting here in the kitchen of my real house, which is not where I live at the moment. And this is one of the windows that got taken out by the tornado. And I also took a video outside and some pictures around the neighborhood for you because I wanted to give you a visual. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the pictures of the tornado, obviously, but I wanted to give you a visual of what my neighborhood is like now. And a lot of it's been cleaned up by volunteers and all of that, and that's been really great. But there's still, it's gonna take a long time to rebuild. And so for the folks in North and East Nashville and Mount Juliet, and I'm sure persons that you know who were affected by the tornado, I think that we can think of that experience as basically a culture shock kind of experience. And then on top of that, for all of us now dealing with this pandemic and kind of restrictions on businesses and the shelter in place and safer at home orders that become increasingly escalated or more stringent every day, I think we're all experiencing something similar to culture shock. And if we're not, we probably know people who are, or we may get to that point at some point. Because essentially what culture shock is, it's a theory of adaptation. It's a theory of understanding how do people adapt to new environments that they're presented with. And for us, COVID-19 and staying at home and taking all of our classes at home and teaching at home and freaking always being at home is a new environment. So, yeah, I mean, it's not earth-shattering, world-changing news here that I'm sharing with you, but I think it's really important when we're studying something like intercultural communication that we don't lose sight of the fact that we're always engaged in cultural and intercultural communication. There's kind of this old school way of thinking about intercultural communication as only kind of communication across national boundaries, and in some ways some of our textbooks and assignments replicate that way of thinking, and that is an important area of intercultural communication, the kind of international communication, basically transnational communication, but it isn't all of it. As many of you have pointed out in your discussion responses, there's all kinds of intercultural communication in the US between people of different cultures, people of different religions, people of different genders and sexualities. And we're always embedded in the kind of taken for granted states of being that we're used to experiencing in our everyday lives. So something comes along like a tornado, crashes out all the windows of your house, or something like a pandemic and people are dying all over, and we have all of these new restrictions and modes of working and being. And so I just wanted to let you all know that I am thinking of you at this time. All your professors are thinking of you and looking forward to the days when things can get back to normal. But it's also interesting to consider from a communication perspective whether these kinds of social distancing practices and things like that, will they in some ways become part of the new normal? Like once we've had this experience, obviously we're not going to all keep standing 6 feet apart from one another when we don't have to anymore. But what kinds of things might change or linger as part of our lives? Will the better hand washing practices stick around? Will we be more careful about showing up places when we're sick? Will some of us even learn new norms of mindfulness in terms of being forced to slow down a little? These are, I think, questions worth considering that seem to relate to our subject matter. So anyway, this was just a little personal note to say hey and share with you a little bit about the kind of culture, the double whammy culture shock that many of the folks who got hit by the tornado are still experiencing. All right, well, take care, and I am here for you if you need me.